At SteelSeries, we make the headsets, mice and keyboards that the world's best gamers win the most with. And we've been doing it since way back. It's up to you how far you go, but whatever you do, go for glory.
And welcome back to the Northern League of Legends Championship. It's week 6, day 2. It's the last stretch towards the top of the mountain where two teams already have their pass. Ruddy and Nord are sitting and waiting for the fog of war to dissipate in order to know their foes. My name is Alexandra Shadow-Maya and I will be your host for the day. But I'm not sitting alone for this festival on bloodshed. I also have with me not only a guest, but the return of Hiprain. And welcome, Dr. Brilman.
Hello, everyone.
Okay, I did this before the pre-show itself, but why can you call yourself a doctor without being a doctor?
It's very, very simple. You just have to be a very big fan of the Doctor Who series. And since I've grown up watching primarily Doctor Who, and especially I'm going to give you a bit of a hot take in the beginning of the day, since, you know, it's fun to give hot takes, right?
Yeah.
Peter Capaldi was one of the best doctors, if not the best.
Here's
I
my
have
hot take.
no idea.
I don't like Doctor Who. That's my hot take.
Wait,
Not a
wait,
fan.
I'll take my leave.
Hey,
See you
who's
later.
casting today? Let's check it out. Who's joining us for the Something's Rift? It is Initialize returning and Foxtrot. How you doing?
Good.
Webcam.
Yeah, Doctor Who. It's meh, mate. It's meh
okay.
best. Sorry.
I really like Christopher Eccleston. He was I think he's underrated. He only got the one season, but he's pretty good.
I don't know who that is.
I
That's
love how
very
we have a
reasonable.
guest and everybody's bullying him already. Like, thank you so much for joining us, casters. Let's toss it
You're
back
so
to the desk.
welcome.
Maybe I have more pixels on my webcam when we do it. Oh, there you go. +2
Your
pixels.
Kinder Surprise webcam's not popping up. By the way, I just need to pop in on this. Initialize say Christopher Eccleston is his favourite Doctor. That guy is famously a terrible person. Like, just a miserable man. So, like, that's just a bad take across the board, to be honest with you.
But he was a good doctor, so I guess that
You
redeems
know
him.
what? Dr. Pedro is the best doctor. He saved my life when I was a kid, so I'm just saying.
Yeah, that's a real Doctor. That's a hero.
That was
is.
a real cool doctor. I'm just pointing it out. I don't know anything aside from that, but also I know understandings are right now. Do you know them? Because yesterday we had a few surprises. Ruddy sitting in first place, followed by Nord 8 and 3, and then we have a tie between DMG, Venom Crest, then Lightside Verdant are trying to chase that top 4. Meanwhile, natives and blue whites are no longer allowed to race towards the top of the mountain. They're actually spectating, but they can play. Let's ruin your day. That's an interesting take. I mean, blue whites did it yesterday, so why not? And with that in mind, I'm not letting you breed it, right? I need predictions
Okay.
already.
What,
Straight
my
off the bat.
predictions or the actual predictions that would be made?
Everybody's predictions. I need those
Okay,
predictions.
the graphic, the predictions for the graphic is what you're asking
You know
for.
what? Eventually we'll get it. Right now, I'm
Where's
just
the camera?
letting you know that. There you go. There you go. Let me check.
Oh,
A lot
wow.
of people lost faith yesterday on DMG.
I didn't.
No.
But to be fair, people did lose faith in DMG. Mine's more just a lack of faith in Verdant. If I'm going to be completely honest, I have not been sold on them all split long. I've said this vocally a lot. Not overly sold. The Lightside versus Blue Whites game as well. I put 5 points on. I'll admit, I did put the 5 points down prior to their win versus Natives. But Blue Whites, they're a team who I genuinely don't think the scoreline reflects how good they are. I think they are a lot better than a 1-10 team. Do I think they're good enough to beat Lightside? No. I still think even with this in hindsight, I definitely would have put 5 points on Lightside this game. I think Lightside, while definitely are one of the more shaky teams in the middle of the table right now, I do think they are foundationally a more solid team than Blue Whites. That's why I've got my faith in them. It's a bit weird that I put 3 points on Ruddy. I don't remember doing this, especially when Natives lost to Blue Whites. So that may be where I might have moved my points around a little bit and put 5 points on Ruddy and 3 on Lightside. But I actually think this is actually a very hard day to predict purely because again, number 2. Venom Crest versus Nord. super hard to predict. Nord obviously locked now into playoffs, so they may play around and try some stuff out and just see what they can get going towards playoffs. They could still theoretically contest a higher spot in the table. They could beat out Ruddy and end in first place. So there is a world where they may just play serious. I'm expecting them to play serious. I think Nord haven't really let off the gas, to be honest, the entire split long. They've been really impressive the whole time. And yeah, their new jungler addition to the team is just, they're looking amazing. They're looking so good in the run up towards playoffs, and they didn't run out of energy like they did last split, where they were great at the start and then towards the end they lost all momentum off of themselves.
And even if you get crumbled. Like locked in for playoffs, you still have to lock in the best seed possible, obviously, so you can get some leverage going into playoffs. Doctor, you played a little bit safe there as a guest position. 3 points, 3 points, 3 points. Are you nervous about getting those 5 points or something like that?
A little, yeah, because it's most of the times when you start to predict on the teams that you know but not know that well, because people might know that I cast mainly a bit of a different league where I am a bit well versed on the teams and so on and so forth. So in here I was looking and thinking, okay, how should I approach it? Then I looked at the way the predictions were made and I go, okay, I'm going to do the safest bet I can practically just go 3 and that's it, right? I think I might have overcooked it though a little bit, because Rudy Esports this split have been popping pretty much, right? I'm looking at their track record and looking at what they were able to do this split. I am genuinely amazed to see that. So I might have just swung a bit more points in there just to make sure that the guest position gets those juicy points there, right? But overall, I feel like getting those predictions there because I'm expecting a good competition just all across the board, right? That's the way to approach it.
I think you did a good job, because you're trying to compensate what J Real did to the guest position yesterday. So, hey, all fair and square. By the way, big kisses to J Real, you're amazing. But with that in mind, you also can participate on predictions back at home. How? Well, join in on the Fantasy League. We don't have that much time left. We only have 1 week ahead of us. So if you want to get these prizes, man, you got to be the best of the best. And we have some sort of hint towards you, so you can get the best Fantasy League with the top 5 players of the beginning of the week. If you notice that already, so I'm just letting you in.
It's that Spaceman meme, isn't it? It's already. It always was. Like, all season long, these guys have been at the top of the table. Like, they're just on fire. Every individual player is just beating out everyone else in their role. I mean, it's quite hard to really break down Ruddy anymore, because of the fact that they are just out-handing everybody. We talked about it, and I'm going to say it again. I said it a lot yesterday. The thing I wanted to see from Ruddy was more macro, because I think they are just better than everybody else, so they're not relying on macro. We have in the last couple of weeks, especially last week, I can't remember who they were playing off the top of my head, but they pulled out a way more macro-orientated game. Yesterday, they did fall back to that macro a little bit more, so we are starting to see that side of Ruddy, which is really good, because it's showing us that they're not just a mechanically good team, but they're also kind of using their brains and thinking about the bigger picture of the game. So I want to see more of that. They are playing natives today, though. So if I'm honest with you, I expect this to just be a bloodbath farming Fantasy League point game. I don't expect too much macro from Ruddy. I think they're just going to roll over natives. Natives lost to Blue Whites yesterday, so they're going to have that in their head, and now they've got to go up versus the best team in the league. It's a rough one. It's definitely going to be a rough one for natives coming into this last game of the day.
Well, let's talk about all the games while we're at it. Let's show the schedule for today. We'll start with DMG versus Verdant, and then following Venom Crest versus Nord, LLS versus Blue Whites, and the game you were talking about, discussing natives versus Ruddy. It's more about hey, we lost yesterday, we can't make playoffs, maybe we can ruin somebody's dreams and show that we're actually a good team. That's kind of what Dim, the coach, was trying to talk about. Hey, if we can't make it playoffs, let's try to ruin some people's dreams. So if you take a win out of Ruddy, Nord, if they get a win, they'll tie up with Ruddy, and they will make the last game of the season even more interesting. Ruddy versus Nord. That's a lot to talk about, but once you get there, we'll talk about it further on. But Doctor, Because you're the doctor. Because you like doctor.
I am.
Let's not talk about that anymore. Let's talk about champions. Specifically, there are a few champions that are hitting like the fog of war. And you brought a specific one that you wanted to discuss. So tell me more about it. Why should we be looking into this champion throughout the rest of the day?
I am genuinely incredibly excited to see Skarner making his way back into pro play, because I feel like back before the rework, or rather until the rework has happened, we've seen only specific players just sometimes bringing that champion up. You know, somebody like Zanzara who just walks up and goes, all right, listen, I'm going to cook you the best risotto I can ever cook you. And he just starts to do incredible stuff with it. But the problem, I feel like one of the biggest problems that worked with Skarner back in the day when the rework was still not undergoing, is that his kit was pretty straightforward, but everybody could do his work a bit better than he did, right? So you had a great Impale ultimate that you could use in order to isolate someone from the team fight. You could take the AD carry, you could take the tank if you really needed it, you could pair it up really well with the flash, you could do a lot of things with it. But guess what? There are champions that can do it better. There is Nocturne with the good old lights out, the paranoia. There is Hecarim, who can just fear everyone in the team fight. There is Lee Sin, who can do a dragon kick. Yeah, you can argue that Lee Sin requires a bit more of that micro, let's say, ability to pilot that champion. Yes, that's definitely true. But Skarner was still there. You could argue that he's got a lot of speed back in the day. But yeah, sure, that's true. But only if that is, you've got the passive, right? The crystals that were placed all across the map. Again, there are champions that can do it better. Again, Hecarim, right? He was really, really fast and he didn't need that passive. He didn't need control of that crystals and so on and so forth. Then the rework comes out and Skarner begins to shine with all different colors of a kaleidoscope that you can imagine, right? The crystals are no longer there. And now instead you've got the passive that pretty much gives the quacking ability to it. Or quaking, I guess the better way of saying. Quacking is a bit of a different thing. Which deals more damage, but I feel like specifically when we're looking at Skarner, the most important things to talk about is his E's and the E's and R's, right? The E and R, the ultimate ability, of course, getting less of a rework per se, but a bit of a different approach to it. And the reason I love it so much, and I'm sorry about that, I can have a really wrong rant about it because I've been maining Skarner back in the day quite a lot, is how much of the versatility it introduces to that champion. How much of this different ways of, okay, what we can actually do. You can provide CC with your Extels Impact and the Impale. That's a very good combination in general. You can have a lot of these flanking maneuvers that you could do before with Skarner, but you had to rely on your way to pilot around the map. Right now, you just go, okay, there is a wall, there is no wall. I don't care that there's a wall, I can just go through it. Why? Because I can just go through it, right? And I feel like that also ties into the fact that lately we have seen top laners gain more and more attention, if we can say that way. We've seen that trend coming up with Ultra Liga quite a bit, when different top laners have started to step up into those games and bring a bit more down to the table. And I feel like we have seen the same thing on the international soil. Many times we've found ourselves in a position where we go, yeah, that team, this and that, but what about the top laner? Specifically, I'm looking at you, BB. Right? And I feel like Skarner brings that a little bit of wild card to it. What he can do, what kind of flanks you can find, and what kind of impale you can bring, because guess what? Now you can do 3 impales instead of 1, since you have that sort of spread of the ultimate. It's no longer point and click, it just goes, okay, I'm going to spread, I'm going to take those 3 people and I'm going to drag them with them, right? So that's why I am so excited to see different how he's going to play it, or how the top lane is going to play it, because I feel like it brings a lot of volatility to these games.
The thing about Skarner,
though, yeah, tell me, Hecarim.
I will just say, his numbers are absolutely bonkers at the moment. No one in this league is playing him, though, which is crazy. I don't understand why not, because we're seeing over in LPL just massive priority on the champion over there. I mean, across the world, everyone's putting a lot of priority on him. But over here, we're kind of a Cassante enjoyer league, and everybody is more interested in picking up the Cassante. And I feel it's weird because we got various different kind of counters to both of those champs in that sense. We've got, obviously, for the Skarner, a lot of people are running Mordekaiser as an answer for that. I haven't seen anyone pilot Mordekaiser in this league at all. That champ is not non-existent over here. Maybe that's because the Skarner's not showing up. Instead, we're seeing Cassante and the various different answers to the Cassante. If you want to be a tank and just pick the Ornn, if you want to pick a Renekton up and have like a powerful jungler. But I will agree, Doctor, the one thing that you were talking about, the top lane attention has shifted up a lot more. Well, just the attention towards top lane is a lot higher, and that's the grubs. It really plays off the grubs. The grubs are an incredibly valuable resource, which if you get 3 or 4, that buff is really potent as you move throughout the game. It never really scales off. It is always a good buff to have. So therefore, you pick up aggressive junglers, top laners who can kind of skirmish and fight to secure a priority in their lane, and I think that's why Cassante is so liked, because he's both skirmishy but also very tanky. So that's why I think we're seeing so much of him, and I think that's why Skarner is so high priority elsewhere, because also skirmishy and tanky. The problem is it just feels like no one in this league wants to be playing the Skarner. I don't know what his pick rate is. He does get banned somewhat regularly, but he's left open a lot and doesn't really get picked up. I probably should have looked up his pick rates before talking about this, but yeah, he has quite low pick rates considering his priority everywhere else in the world.
It's getting lowered right now, especially with the tweak on the 14.13 as well. So he's losing a little bit of priority on the top side, and it seems like we have some different answers towards that champion. Other champions that are popping up, and maybe you have to take caution looking into today's draft, it is Ezreal and Vados. Ezreal coming in from the 14.12 with an empowerment on the Q and the yard itself, but now on the 14.13, Vados got some attention towards him on the passive and on the W as well. This will shift the meta a little bit towards the AD carry position, but since we're playing on NLC, everybody likes to play like Aurelion Sol, Ziggs, and everything that is AP. So even though they're trying to buff AD carries for the NLC, I mean, we're kind of weird at the end of the day, no, Brian?
Yeah, we are. Well, I mean, Fruity Fresh is weird at the end of the day. Like, that guy, Aesol, Smolder, Ziggs, very caster-based. I know technically Smolder is a ADC, but a very caster-based champion, player. His pool is always more kind of magey than it is ADC, but very capable as an ADC as well. We have seen him pilot things like the Kaiser and stuff like that. Kind of going on to the ADC pool, moving away from topside, it's interesting because obviously the Varus changes did see some play in the league at the beginning of the season, but we are very much in like a Tristan or Corki are like your go-to kind of mid laners, and then that leaves you flex for AP bot lanes, or maybe just double AD and then you put like a Lilia in the jungle off the back of that one. Kaiser seems to be a lot more popular. The Ezreal is showing up, to be fair. I do think Varus is the one who we're seeing the least of like the current good ADCs. I don't think that means he doesn't get played, and I don't think that means he won't get played, but I just think right now the priority for our players are more towards like Jinx, Kaiser, hyperscaling champions who just pop off in team fights and can assassinate someone or kind of play front to back. It seems to suit them a little bit more, unless you're Fruity, in which case he's just playing Ziggs or something and he's going to be a menace. I'm so excited to see him play because his champ pool is interesting. It's deep. It's very AP, but it's very deep.
But also, we're hitting a point where he's not allowed to make any sort of mistakes, him and his team as well. So let's bring out the opportunities we still have towards playoffs of Summer Split 2024 with a foldy sheet. We yesterday got a little bit of it, and now we updated, which means Ruddy almost locked in for first place. Nord will have a hard time at that one, and then the important part is who's going to make playoffs. Light side, we were talking about them right now. It's complicated for them. Verdant, it's even harder right now. They need kind of a miracle. Venomcrest and DMG are almost locked in. So a lot of these games today will probably give you that opportunity, and the sheet, the foldy sheet itself will be upgraded. But it's do or die for most of these teams. And the first game we have today, it's DMG versus Verdant. And just letting you know that if DMG wins this game, they'll be locked in. But also, Verdant will be locked out, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, that is massive for both Lightside and Venomcrest as well. Because if DMG win this, it reduces the amount of spots, because if DMG do win, once they win, that means there's 3 spots taken in playoffs, and then there's only 1 left. Right now, it'll be Venom Crest and Lightside who are going to be in the runnings for that. Venom Crest are playing Nord in our second game of the day, so they're going to be eagerly looking to try and get that win versus Nord, and it's a hard fight for them. The runner schedule for Venom Crest going forwards, because there's only 1 more week, they've got Lightside and they've got Natives. So this is the hardest of their last 3 games to play. So it's really going to come down to, if they can find this win, that is a massive step forward. I don't know if it locks them. I think that would be based on Lightside's performance, if I'm honest. I'll have to double check. I'll check in the game. I'll message the producer and see. But I'm pretty sure they don't lock off this one. But I'm also famously bad at making very bold statements and have absolutely zero idea what I'm talking about.
If DMG wins, they'll be locked. If DMG wins, Verdant is out.
Yes, but Venom Crest, I'm talking about Venom Crest as a Nord in game number 2. But we should focus on this game. We should focus on this game, because this one's very important. Very important.
When we're talking about that, might as well highlight the bot lane itself. I think these two are like the highlight of the battle between them.
Yeah.
We're looking at Namex and Xdrop. Xdrop has been disgustingly good. He's top of the league. I don't know how Nata is getting like the player of the week when you have Xdrop just getting those Ezreal games with a 19-1 KDA. And on the other side, Namex has a big mountain ahead of him to climb. And Doctor, it's your time to talk about this right now. DMG versus Verdant. We have a focus on the bot side as well. I know you love the top, but what else?
I mean, honestly, I'm very excited to see Xdrop playing today, because I've looked into the statistics a little bit. We've been talking about that Ezreal, and apparently in his game against VNC, he had 45,000 damage, and his share was 38% of the damage dealt by the team. So that pretty much gives you to, brings you to the point of, Jesus Christ, this guy is a menace, right?
Yeah.
But overall, from this game, what I'm really interested to see, and I'm always really, whenever I'm doing any kind of splits, whenever I'm looking at any kind of professional games and professional players, is I feel like this is going to be a testament not that much maybe to the skill of the players, but their psychological resistance. It's kind of like, okay, now you roll me a d20 on your wisdom save, because you have to make sure that you don't break under that pressure. And that goes both to DMG and VIR, right? It's both of the teams, they have a lot on the stake here. And with that being said, I'm just really interested to see how the game is going to go. Is it going to be a slow one because they're going to try to take it slowly? Is it going to be a quick one because both of them are going to try to rush to that victory?
Well, I can give you the answer to that. Verdant typically slow the game down and play fairly passive. DMG are going to be a lot more bloodthirsty. You can already see they're looking to slow the game down. Got the Ivan, the Tristana, so they want some scaling locked in there. Corki getting picked up as the first pick there for Skate Rock. Now, crucially, the Cassante is left open. Bucci had a terrible game on it yesterday, and I really sung his praises as the best Cassante in the league. So I wouldn't be surprised to see him pick it up. Sheehan had an even more miserable game, though, on the Darius. 1 kill participation for his team, so he did absolutely nothing, but did play versus a Vayne, to be fair. But it was a pretty rough game for him. DMG looking for an AP jungler, knowing they're going to be running this Corki mid and probably name X on an ADC like a Kaiser or something like that, locking this one in. I think, for me, I would like to just see the Bucci blind pick of the Cassante here, because I would be surprised if it makes through the next ban phase. Rel is open as well to someone like Snubby.
Exactly.
So there are a few options up and available. They decide to forsake the Cassante, pick themselves up the Rel, and now moving into this next pick phase, well, I assume this will probably be some level of support like a Leona, potentially for Calm Sky. We know he defaults to that.
Could be Nautilus, theoretically.
It could be Nautilus, yes, yeah. I think
provide you some engage, provide some CC as well, and I reckon top lanes should be left alone on the first half of the pick, specifically because of what you said. Both top laners yesterday had a complicated match, and Bucci, for instance, was on Twitter talking about it. They lost faith in me. I'm still Bucci, so he wants to come in and just kill everybody. And Shihan needs that counter to the top side, so I think that will be the last pick coming in from Verdant. They need a top lane counter because Bucci is looking for blood. So yeah, might as well pick something for Xdrop afterwards, and then you try to save Shihan.
Yeah. I'm curious what these ban phases going to look like, because remember that Tristana
Yeah.
is technically flexible. Realistically, you're going to see it go mid. The Cassante ban is the only thing I knew was a guarantee coming in here. Now it's over to Bucci. I assume he's going to look maybe towards some answers towards whatever he's going to be blind picking top lane. There is a world where they just look to pinch the ADC pool a little bit more, but they know that X drop is realistically going to pick an ADC, and then they will be blind picking top and then counter picking ADC. So I think this is most likely, just going to trim X-Drop's pool a little bit and force him onto something maybe a little lower down that ladder. Remember, both the Corki and the Trist could technically flex. Realistically, we'll see them probably go into that mid lane. Wonder what this next ban's going to be. I mean, you could go for things like...
This could be a Renekton. You take away the Renekton from Bucci, and then you take the Ezreal from X-Drop. I think those are targeted bans coming in from both teams as they're trying to...
Absolutely
the last
might be,
few
yeah.
seconds, yeah.
I don't think you want to blind pick Renekton, though, so it's almost kind of like a wasted ban, in
It's
my opinion.
Bucci.
The Gragas is definitely a safer bet, actually, because we know Bucci does play this one. It has basically no losing lanes. Like, Gragas is so miserable to play into top. So I think that's a way safer ban. I think the Renekton, if it's picked up by DMG blind, you can just find an answer to it. And right now, I'm looking at what are these teams missing? What are Verdant missing right now? It's AP. So AP top laners is a very realistic thing that we could see come out here from Sheehan. You got things like Kennen up and available if you want to go down that route. So I'd be interested to see what they decide to pick up. The Jax being the final ban here. Sheehan does play that Jax as well. As you see, the kind of Darius Jax player. Very, very kind of trade aggressive player. Going to see X-Drop just get his hands on the Varus, and now moving over to DMG. What are they going to pick up? I mean, Ez is probably the safe pick here, to be honest.
Probably yes, but to be honest, I am absolutely in love with that pickup of Varus, because I feel like it kind of... okay, never mind.
He
It's not
hovers
gonna
it,
be
don't
Ezreal.
worry, he hovers it
He's
every
a
time.
one-trick pony, so he's always...
Fair enough. I got excited for a second there. But I do like the pickup of Varus, because I feel like it brings a lot of balance right now to what Verdant have already picked for themselves. Right, they've got a Tristana that's not going to have that much of a higher rate than Varus, and Varus of course got a little bit of that both in that patch as well. So that seems to be like overall a good idea. Right, but right now what you have both of your hands is hard engage as Verdant, and you also do have the range on your hands as well. That's relatively lax on the side of DMG. So in general, I am pretty much in love with this pick.
Yeah, we talked about it.
It's
He's
good.
so much more powerful right now.
Absolutely. Now, we did see the Renekton get blind picked there by Bucci. This Aatrox hover is obviously going to be like the kind of default pickup here for Sheehan. You could technically go down a tankier route and just try and eat the pressure of Bucci, but I mean, here's my major concern for both the top laners. I mean, mostly for Bucci. You have a Karthus. Like, he's going to clear incredibly fast, but like, there's not that much synergy. When you see a Renekton, you think of like, you know, the Elise Renekton or the Nidalee Renekton. Now, I think Bitsy is the person who played Nidalee. Someone played Nidalee, but I mean, regardless...
Yoka.
Oh, it was Yoka. Yes, you are correct. It was Yoka. Regardless, there's not a lot of synergy for this Renekton to play off, so what you're expecting to probably see is Bucci rotate for Bitsy, more than Bitsy rotating into Bucci's lane. On the other side, Ivern is so annoying, because you going in for a fight 1v1, and suddenly they get a big old shield, they get a bush to hide in, and they have, you know, the snare, they have all of the utility of the Ivern. So I think Sheehan's going to be feeling relatively comfortable with his top side. Bucci's going to have to pilot this very, very well.
So with this in mind, we got the Champion Select, we got both teams ready. One can lock in playoffs if they win, the other one can be locked out. So if the Miracle Run is to happen for Verdant, it's on them to start winning by this game. And with that in mind, Hiprain and Dr. Brillman, I want to know your predictions after the Champion Select. I want to know if you're staying strong with the predictions you made earlier in the day, or if you want to swap it around.
Go on, Doctor, go first.
I might be a little bit of a hotter take from my side, but I am pretty much in love with Verdant's draft. I feel like it's very well rounded. So, based on that draft, I think I'm gonna go towards Verdant here. I think they have it a bit more to my liking. I would say it like this.
Okay,
I'll say-
Verdant, Hiprain.
My issue with Verdant is they have a severe lack of AP damage on that team. I think DMG, while their team's probably a little harder to execute, they have just proven to be the better team. So nameplates off and on, I'm actually still favouring what DMG have, because I think their team is maybe slightly harder to execute, but more well-rounded.
Well, let's see if the on-hit Varus will make any sort of difference, or if X-Drop will play the poke one. Let's book the casters as they're getting ready to jump into Summoner's Rift. Take it away, Initialize, and the Fox.
Ow! It's got poked. Who does that? Pretty rude, to be honest. Foxy, good to have you with me. It's been a hot minute since we've been on cast together.
It has been.
How are you doing, mate?
I'm good. I'm excited. I'm excited to be doing some good old NLC, especially as we're closing out, you know, the weeks and these games. Like, you know, like the desk mentioned, it's a big deal here. If Verdant lose, they're out of playoffs. You know, it's dunzo.
Yeah.
So big stakes today.
And if DMG win, I believe they lock themselves in as well. So this is a big game for both teams. Verdant, if they wanted to make that playoffs run, it would have to be a long and arduous road to get there, but still got to wait, of course, to get into that point anyway. Question then, because we've heard the desk get a little bit split there on the comps as well, and we've both been having a discussion behind the scenes as well. You think DMG have probably got the better comp in your eyes?
Yeah, I think I echo some of the sentiments that Jake said there. Lack of damage profile, I'd say, for Verdant could be a problem. And whereas, you know, well, specifically, you got a lot of physical damage, you don't really have any magic damage at all. Could be an issue as we see as the game goes on, but let's not waste any more time. Let's end this game, and we'll see how it plays out.
Well-reasoned concerns there, Foxy, as we head on to the Rift. As you're kind of right that lack of magic damage could prove problematic, but then we're also discussing, like, Steel Cap's super valuable for DMG this game for obvious reasons, but who's realistically going to be building that much armor? The Renekton will get some, the Rel will get there eventually after something like a Warmogs, but it's not going to be like we're into an Ornn or even a Leona or something which just builds all of those resists so freely.
Yeah, exactly. You're not wrong. So there are worse team comps to be a heavy AD team, right? Exactly as you mentioned, it might take a little bit more time to get through someone like the Rel, and plated steel caps will get a lot of value, and you'll see most likely, you know, even Skater will be picking those up on the Corki.
Sure.
But yeah, to be perfectly honest, it could be worse here for Verdant, and I think, you know, you still have some other redeeming qualities in your team, right? If you want to look at the positives, and Ivern plus a front line for 2 ADCs is pretty good, and Ivern can
pretty
also
great, yeah.
he can itemize into, you know, he's got his big shield already, but he can itemize into something like the Locket, or maybe Lonely will get it, whatever. Like, it's going to be built. That against Akarthus is really, really nice too, so that should help mitigate his impact in this game. Bitsy, though, just, you know, I think he's been so good on these kind of AP junglers and just
really has.
farming. So I have high expectations for him to just, you know, 10 CS per minute type thing, go crazy, and be a bit of a problem for Verdant.
Worth noting as well that Bitzer has gone towards the first strike on the Karthus. I know there's been a lot of nerfs towards that rune, kind of trying to move particularly jungle abusers of that rune away from using it so freely as it was earlier on in the split, but still feeling that's going to be a good opportunity. It means that between those big fights, you can throw an ultimate on the Karthus and just look for a bit more gold as you're kind of waiting to get towards those items.
That's it. And we'll see if this first strike is paired with a Malignance, because Malignance obviously is the ultimate cooldown reduction item. And with first strike, it's kind of what you want to do on Karthus is use a lot of ultis. Personally, to be perfectly honest, I'm not a huge fan of Malignance on Karthus anymore. Like, I just feel like it doesn't give you big oomph. No, it doesn't give you massive dam. And I feel like that's what you want to do with Karthus. I feel like he's torn. Like, Karthus is torn. He wants, perhaps, like, the burn items are really good on him as well.
They are.
But Malignance is good on him too. And it's like, which one do you go for? And then, at the end of the day, none of those items really offer you big upfront oomph, right? Which is kind of what you want to be dealing with.
So interesting, because watching someone like the tier 1 jungler's been playing a lot of Karthus, and again, there's no guarantee they're building right? We've all seen the discussions about various champions and what items they're building in pro play and all that kind of thing. But what I've been seeing quite a lot of is like the double burn into Malignant's third. So you're still getting cooldown reduction on the ult, but it's still pretty rough as Harbo gets a nice chunk there onto Skate Rot. And I'll be interested to see whether that's the build path there as well for the Karthus. Notwithstanding Corki getting chunked horribly in mid lane.
Yes, so that's why you pick Tristana into Corki, or why you leave Corki up as long as you've got Tristana as an option, because she does trade very well into Corki early on, who otherwise is a very strong champion. Doping with the first gank of the game, though.
Bucci gets Conqueror stacked and look to trade this one out. Out comes the Brushmaker, and Bucci will back away with a slice and a dice, and now Harbo, in a potentially dangerous spot, will hop over the wall, but he's still going to be in the space of the Defile, and the Lay Waste doing so much work. Harbo chunked out low, but not down, and Bitze gets to roam towards the second scuttle grab of the game and get both of them for himself.
Already with that farm advantage and a nice little gank there into the mid lane. It's important to know too, like in a lane like Tristana, you know, you don't get the flash or anything like that. You know, you don't get the kill either, obviously, but just alleviating that pressure for Skate Rot means so much in a gank. Like, you don't have to go in and blow summoners and get kills or anything like that. Just helping your teammate out a little bit there. Like I say, getting rid of the pressure that Corki was facing allows him to get a nice little shove, a good recall. He's now into his tier as well, a cloth armor to take the edge off. It's very valuable. It means a lot, and it's good stuff from Bitze, who's now not only got a successful gank off, but look at that farm already. He's
going for a second clear. He basically managed. It was such an efficient gank because he clears one Scuttle Crab, walks through mid, ganks down there, gets the Scuttle Crab on the bot side, and just gets to clear again. So feeling very pleased with himself right now, having got a lot of value really out of his brief luck in mid lane. We did see a bit of a scuffle happening in bot lane, but not to really much avail right now. Slight gold lead the way of DMG right now, but you can see exactly where that is. It's out of the jungle, it's out of the top lane, where some of those early farm advantages are beginning to pay dividends.
Yeah, it's not too much to write home about just yet, but as you mentioned, just a little bit going on through here, and this Bucci Shihan matchup is certainly something that Verdant will want to have different to how it was last time around, right? So Bucci, if you can cast your mind back, Bucci picked this Renekton similar ways as he did, as he has done in this game, and was an absolute menace against Shihan. Shihan was on that Cassante, and he struggled. He really struggled. He had 7 deaths in that game. Top lane was a constant just pain point for Verdant, and Bucci was like MVP hands down. He was so good. So yeah, it's definitely something that that Verdant will want to have back here, specifically Shihan in this matchup.
I can agree with that, and also not to put too fine upon it. I think that Bucci is a scary man. Look, anybody who keeps a taxidermied fox in his room just casually is not someone to take lightly.
What?
Did you not know? He did an interview where he had a taxidermied fox in his room. There was a whole interview with it.
Who is this Bucci?
Yeah.
Jesus.
On NLC no less, as bot lane the Requiem is getting summoned, as I have scared Foxy with fun facts about one of our players.
That's
Bitze
not a fun
in danger
fact,
of being
mate. That's a
collapsed
troubling
on.
fact.
Talk to Bucci about it. Bring it up with him, man.
I will. Bloody hell. Speaking of troubling, a 3-man invasion.
Oh,
Your
boy.
Grumble extra up. He's down. Rip.
He drops it like it hot. There you go. Namex will pick that one up, and a nice gank towards the bot lane. The follow-up damage after Bitze ulted a little earlier. Too much to deal with.
Yeah, no bueno right there. You have to respect the fact if you're all by yourself under your turret because your support's gone roaming, you're not safe. But very well punished there by DMG, knowing that Calm Sky had gone for the invade onto Bitze. So not worth it though, obviously.
Oh, hang on.
Dopamine now. Second gang of the game.
Still got himself a fairly decent chunk, does Bucci, though. Shihan not enjoying his time there. In the end, we see the gank that Bucci just presses R and says, I'll take both of you once, thanks.
It's good. It's good pressure absorption here for Bucci, but I wonder if now with that ultimate on cooldown, like, is that the success? Because he's coming back. Ivan's on his way back.
Can do exactly that. There's the Conqueror stack for both sides. Bucci has flash, maybe forced to pop it. Daisy is also here. That's why Dopamine left and Bucci dies. You said good pressure absorption, but for how long? Well, about 10 seconds.
And there it is. Nice. Third gank already. Topside for Dopamine against Bucci. Bucci must be feeling like he's getting the VIP treatment. He's, I mean, but he's playing under an Aatrox's tower. Like, he's got to be expecting something. And yeah, I mean, at least, you know, if Dopamine shows topside for DMG, then it's like he's, you know, he's not anywhere else. And this Tristana can get a lot of, get a lot of pressure going on, specifically in bot side as well. So, you know, Bucci kind of doing his job, but well recognized by Verdant, knowing that Bucci is a big problem for these guys and to punish it.
It's only even to up the gold, of course. There's still a significant lead in terms of CS up there. The problem is, all of that attention top has still led the Karthus to free farm his way to level 7. Looking in the other lanes, they've been farming out just fine. Of course, First Blood still went the way of Namex on this Zeri, who is a very scary prospect to be giving a gold up against.
Absolutely. A 500 gold lead here for Namex is, yeah, it's early days, but that's still relatively significant here. And bear in mind as well, when we look at the pattern for Verdant, how they find success, it's very much through X-Drop, right? This bot lane, as far as damage share goes, statistically, Verdant is one of the teams that has the most damage in an ADC or in their bot lane, right? A lot of other teams, well, I'll just give you an example of DMG, like the damage split, 25% is Bucci, 25% Skate Rock, 25% is Namex. It's spread across the board. Verdant, on the other hand, 19% for Shihan, 23 for Harbo, 33 for X-Drop. They rely on him a lot to get wins, and so far, the fact that he's behind in this game, as far as game plan goes for DMG, like, they're doing it right. You know, they've identified that, and they've put him down.
They are exactly that. Bucci needs to get on out of those infernal chains, and does get out there. As these the Malignants first, by the way. You did call it, and there it is. Bitse going straight towards being able to ult as regularly as possible. And you were also right about the steel caps on Corki. I mean, again, that shouldn't be a surprise considering the comp they're into, but glad to see my Colorcaster is up on the game today.
He's not totally useless.
Yeah, not entirely useless, only slightly, you know,
Just
vaguely
a little
useless.
bit. Yeah. Just enough to remain charming, but not much more.
Is that the requirement? Is top lane flash for the W? Serious value back, but not quite enough. I'm too busy laughing at my Colorcaster to pay attention to what's happening on screen, apparently. Bot lane, seeing some attention from DMG down here, but I don't think it's going to be quite enough. Bitsa did pull the ultimate to try and help save Bucci, but it just wasn't quite there. A second boot to go alongside the first, made out of crocodile skin.
That's it, though, isn't it? And that's the cooldown on the Karthus ulti. Big cooldown early, yeah. We do have that Malignance coming through, so the cooldown will be slightly lower, but still pretty significant. Getting that first ultimate from Karthus and it not really doing anything here. Quite a big deal for DMG, as Verdant might look to contest this one. I don't think they'll be able to stop it, but will they fight?
Calm skin to the backside, there's a lot of value down. The damage back onto X-Drop though, he's gone. Bitse likely to fall afterwards, but Bucci is teleported in, trying to get some damage down. He's stunned up briefly by the shield of Daybreak, but Namex continue to free fire best they can. The rockets landing, the Infernal Chains land briefly onto Stabby, but there will be no further they can stop. A flash from Kamsky keeps him alive, but a stun onto Harbo, and flip back with the mount up, and Bucci gets the Tristana. 2 down and Dragon.
DMG also should be turning towards the grubs off of this one. Maybe a plate or two in that mid lane as well. It's a big deal here for DMG. Successful team fight plus the objectives. Pretty much all they could ask for. Dopamine now may have moved a little bit too far forwards.
The Shattering Strike breaks the shield, and Bucci gets vengeance for all the ganks earlier from 0 and 2 to 2 and 2.
Well, this is it. All those attention into topside. What did it really achieve for Verdant? Not too much, and I think you have to really recognize where your bread is buttered if you are Verdant here. It's all about X-Drop, and it's the X-Drop show. Like I mentioned before, the last time these two teams met, mind you, there were 11 kills for Verdant. And 9 of them were on X-Drop. He finished the game 9-1-0, and they lost in 30 minutes, for goodness sake. This man's been on the struggle bus when it comes to what his teammates can do to support him. He does his best, but you have to think here, in this game, like 0-2-0, you know, he's pretty far behind the docket as well. He's been camped, a lot of attention's been flown towards him, and not so much can be said for his teammates as far as like supporting him and help making it happen, so... Yeah, not too good there for Verdant as Bitse continues to stack up.
Economy ult, let's get the first strike gold, yeah.
Yeah.
Gets a bit of a chunk out there, interrupts some bank. Dopamine is here with friends in the bot lane, but Snabby also beginning to scout out some wards, aware that Verdant might be looking for someone. Scatterrot in danger, gets away with it. The turnaround now might come on through Harbo, taking around 20% HP. The Magnet Storm afterwards. Teleports begin to fly. A solar flare comes crashing down out of the sky. But look who else is here. It's Namex, who has decided to turn his burst fire full auto, continuing to fire shot after shot after shot into the tree. Dopamine gets another shield, trying to get something up, but will not survive. The kill comes down as Shihad is here, and the camera pans on over as Namex gets a double.
Oh dear, it just goes from bad to worse, doesn't it now for Verdant? Bucci didn't even join the fight. He stacked a whole massive 2, maybe even 3 waves under that top turret. The plate's going down. On the plus side, Extra was able to do something kind of similar in mid, catch back up, but with Namex getting those kills there, I don't think he's going to be catching up anytime soon at all. Plus 5 grub tower take. Yeah, exactly. Oh boy, Namex is getting funneled this game, plus 725. That's just for finishing it off. It's not even for the plates beforehand.
2,500 gold ahead. It's not even 15 minutes, Foxy.
Oh dear. Yeah, it's pretty tragic right here. This is a tough one. This is a real tough one. And with Verdant's playoff hopes on the line here, oh man, they've really dug themselves into a hole.
It's looking rough, and a note as well. X-Drop did go towards the poke. Varus build as Harbo jumped on, takes a fairly decent chunk as Bucci clears the wave. Should be okay for now. Kamsky was around, but I think Bucci reads the potential dive coming and decides to clear out the wave in short order.
I am a bit surprised at Varus going for the poke build as opposed to something more on-hit focused, because they don't have any magic damage, and we all know, you know, Varus with that on-hit build does a little bit more magic. But to be fair, at the same time, it's kind of impossible to play on-hit Varus into team comps that just want to jump on top of you, which is DMG in a nutshell. So I don't really blame him. It's just, it's tough in this draft, I guess, to beat poke. It could also be an adaptation for this game, because when you're behind like this, yeah, it's even harder to play on hit, to play close range, right?
Like, at least this way you can press one button rather than have to stand there and auto attack for 5 seconds.
And from far away, right? That one button, you're
from
safe.
the other side of the screen. Yeah.
Exactly. Kaching comes the Bitse LT, third of the game right here.
Shameless. He knows exactly what he's doing. He's an investment banker. He's not a League of Legends player.
Yeah, this kind of strategy, I quite like it in professional play, because it really does accelerate your economy. It's quite valuable. It's probably giving him like 150 gold, like half a kill already. But in solo queue, it doesn't work because everyone's fighting all the time. You know, I've tried this. I've tried this in solo queue. It's cool. It's fun for a clickbait YouTube title, but it's not viable because everyone's fighting all the time.
Look, tell me you don't do clickbait YouTube videos, man. I trusted you to make serious, entertaining, and educational
10 years of
content.
skin in the game. You think I would do such a thing?
I don't know. I don't think you would. I wouldn't. Don't break my heart like that, okay?
Let's see. I've claimed that Rumble is the best ulti in the entire game. Do you agree with that? Do you agree with that claim?
I think that's true. That's fair.
I said that 6 days ago.
Okay, that's
Zinzel's the early game GOAT. Do you agree with that?
Contestable, but I see the argument.
That was 5 days
As
ago.
I see, Jesus, Skyron just jumps on X-Drop, who drops again for the 3rd time this game. At least we're seeing a trade on the other side, but the problem is the base is about to be broken into by the inhibitor turret. We can make a video about this one, because this is a ridiculous shove.
Yeah, this is looking kind of tough. Bucci won't even fall down here. Verdant are now feeling, feeling the pressure. Yeah. DMG just don't care. Like, they just rotate from mid. They're now looking for something potentially bot side. There's dragons up as well. Shihan. Yeah, I don't think he's going to be long for this world. He does have his flash, but Namex is going to cut him off.
Snabby misses the Shattering Strike, but we won't talk about that as the Lightning Crash comes on down, and Snabby will assist Bitset and the rest of the crew in getting that kill.
Can DMG take this dragon before Verdant get here, though? Because this is actually an objective bounty as well, and if Bucci isn't around, he's got no flash, no ulti. This could be a good fight, but I don't think Verdant... yeah, it would be a little bit
Varus
crazy.
is going to get here in time, I think it would be tricky in a 3v4, even with a lot of those ultimates burned. There's a second dragon. It's not like it's soul point or anything, so I feel like Verdant probably okay giving that one up for now. The problem is more at the top of your screen, where I'm looking at a 6,000 gold lead and a team that is going to scale very well with items.
Yeah, it's tough, isn't it? DMG, like, we do want to give these guys credit. They've played exceptionally well, specifically recently. You know, I know they had that fall-off game yesterday. didn't really perform up to their standards. But aside from that, you know, they were what, like 5-1 in their last 6 games, if you don't count yesterday. So recent form basically has been very good, and this is much more of what we expect from DMG here in the NLC. I think starting, you know, before the NLC started, I didn't have this kind of level of expectation from DMG. But, you know, they quickly kind of proved to us within 2 or 3 weeks that actually this team was legit, and here they are, you know, solidifying their place, looking to solidify their place in playoffs, 18 minutes into the game with a 7,000 gold lead. It's looking pretty good for these guys.
They would raise the bar to entry to playoffs to 8 game wins and make life for particularly light side pretty difficult. See a bit of an engage here on Debuchy, as I was about to have a wider conversation, but instead we're not going to get a chance because violence is occurring, and that's definitely more entertaining as the jump is interrupted. Harbo dead to rights, the buster shot does nothing but knock Namex away. It'll be Bitter that picks up the kill, but still another kill goes over. They do get Bucci on the other side, but I'm not sure how much it changes in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah, the wave clear from Lethality Varus is pretty good, but not so much when you have one item in your back pocket. Not going to be able to save that turret. I don't want to sound like a Verdant hater here, and I'm absolutely not a hater, but it is so good to see a Tristana die mid-jump, trying to buffer escape CC. That is such a frustrating...
like there's some personal range.
It's such a frustrating mechanic, you know, when she jumps out of mid-CC, but not this time, not when it's Rel. So there is some satisfaction there.
Bit of Schadenfreude. Yeah, I can get behind that.
Yeah.
I feel like, do you remember when Caps was playing it into Vi and buffering out a Vi ultimate? With the Tristana W. That ability is incredibly good in skilled players' hands.
Yeah, it's very frustrating, and obviously I'm a jungle player, so I'm constantly ganking, and I'm feeling the pain of this this champ being impossible to gank. It's very frustrating right now in the meta, as you can imagine. So it's cool. Anyway, personal rant aside, yeah, this game right here. To be fair, if we're looking for Verdant, you know, this game, if they lose, they're pretty much out of playoffs. I think it's guaranteed they're out of playoffs, right? Yeah. So if they're trying to come back into this one, if you look at the goal totals, I know it's quite a hefty difference right here. You know, like a 7,000, close to 8,000 difference. But it's mostly in ADC and jungle, right? And the jungle doesn't matter too much, right? It doesn't matter if your Ivern is behind. It's Ivern, okay? It's cool. He can still function. He can still be useful, right? If he doesn't, on a low economy. So that's kind of some level of positivity there, right? They're still competitive outside of this Zeri being huge. Can Verdant buy enough time, though, to catch back up into this game, right? Like, we don't even have the Mana Mune done, or the Mura Mana, excuse me, stacked up. There's not even a single item done on Calm Sky. No locket to be seen. It's going to take a little bit more time, and do Verdant have that time?
I'm not sure they do, and then I'm also looking at the fact that you've got 2.5 items on the Karthus, who is still going to be frustrating. He has got a gold lead for all that the Ivern's good and low economy. Karthus is great with a rich economy, so to speak. So you've got more than one carry to deal with. Killing Namex would be a great start, but there's still a 2-item Corki. There's still a 2.5-item Karthus. Hell, this Renekton isn't entirely out of the game for all you've targeted, and he's still a couple hundred gold ahead of your own Aatrox.
It's looking kind of tough, I'm not going to lie. I was trying to paint a pretty picture, but it's objectively not a pretty one. This is a cheeky little ward on the outside of the Baron Pit, though. It will allow Verdant to at least have the info that this dragon is going down, but will they be able to stop it? That's a different question. It's looking unlikely.
Dopamine can come on over, and if you can root caller in, maybe there would have been an angle, but not going to be there in time. Double AD carry plus the Karthus does swift work to Baron Nashor, and it will fall to the hands of DMG.
Tough situation to be in right here if you're Verdant. Again, they just want time and they're not being given it. This dragon will be spawning in 15 seconds, but DMG not going to give this one up for free right here. Well, maybe they will actually. They don't seem to care too much.
Yeah. Maybe they want to try and shove for this inhibitor that was exposed earlier, in fairness, and you can already see at the top lane, Scatterot looking to get towards that tier 2 that Shihan is looking to shadow. Next drop was being run at, but is in a speed zone, so should be able to get out to safety for now, and the dragon contested by DMG, and Verdant swiftly pull away. And they'll give that one up to DMG.
Yeah, I did wonder if there was a little bit of a a window there, but to be fair, Verdant's damage against objectives is tragic.
Foul.
It's really bad, especially when Tristana is topside. So yeah, fair enough. That's not going to happen. It's not Soul. It's not Soul at this point, at least. If you're Verdant, you still have something to hold on to there. Just clear the waves, boys. We know the Baron Nash is up. That's going to be ticking away. If we can just get through this Nash without them taking everything on the map, maybe, just maybe, we have a bit of hope here as we can scale into the game. Ardent Sensor and Redemption now for Ivan. The Sensor, pretty valuable with Tristana. Not so much with the Varus, who's gone on hit.
No.
Not gone on hit, mind you, but...
Flash. Harbo in danger, does finally manage to buffer up, but the damage in some ways already done. That tier 2 falls. Redemption comes on down and keeps Harbo relatively topped up. There's a ward in that bush just briefly, but it is swiftly swept away. And the siege continues for DMG, who were looking for Harbo, who, in the end, doesn't end up going down.
Who skips the Warmogs. Oh!
Damage onto the Karthus. That's actually pretty huge. Doesn't quite go down quite yet. Bitzer is tanky enough, and now the turnaround onto Karmsky means he comes crashing down afterwards. And Karthus sings a song of vengeance. The burn onto X-Drop. Flash forwards from Namix, who gets a triple. Won't be able to secure anything resembling a penta, but the multi-kill's still there. The team is ace. The base is broken. And DMG wipe Verdant from the map. Wipe their hopes away of playoffs. And DMG themselves lock themselves in.
8 wins for DMG will be good enough to lock themselves in, as you say, and unfortunately for Verdant, their time here, the NLC Summer, it won't be extending past week 8. It was a tough game for them right from the get-go, but DMG just proving why they're one of the better teams here in the league.
Well, that's a huge one there. Verdant going to be really disappointed. It kind of went wrong from the very early stage of that game, but credit over to DMG for playing out a really crisp game. I think at best we're looking at maybe Venom Crest and Lightside could potentially tie them at the 8 wins alongside Nord, but you see where head-to-heads and stuff go. I believe they've locked it in, but I'm sure the desk will clarify that for us. But they'll do that after this break, so they'll see you after that.
Break it down, break it down. Step on the gas, let's get out of town. We gonna break out and have some fun. We gonna do what you never done. Oh yeah, yeah. Come on, take your body with you. Bring some money with